Hi, I'm Dr. Bertie Sperry, and I want to tell you a story. It is one of the most important stories I will ever tell in my life. It is one of the reasons why I continue, even as the pandemic is doing whatever the pandemic is doing. We don't know what it's doing, but it's doing something. But it's a story of freedom. It's why I fight so hard for it. It's why I believe in it. I wrote my first novel, Redemption Song. It's a beautiful, beautiful love story that happens during the time of enslavement. My mother read the novel and said, "This is a beautiful novel, but you got one thing really wrong." I had used the name of the man who owned the plantation that my family lived on as the name of the evil slave owner. I wanted to use a real name of someone who I knew owned a plantation. It was the plantation my family lived on. That was all I'd ever heard. And I wanted to put him out there in history. My mother said this man was a nice man. I said, "Mom, Delaware was a slave state. And there are some slave owners or people who enslaved others who were a little bit more benevolent than others, but slavery is slavery, and there is nothing nice about it." The book became a bestseller, and reviewers loved it. It was amazing. And then, right before my mother died, she was in the hospital, and I knew she was going down because she got to watch a Bonanza marathon, and she loved some Bonanza. And she watched it around the clock, and I was sitting there with her and watching it around the clock. And at one point, she fell asleep. And when she fell asleep, I changed the channel and I put it on PBS, and I heard the name John Hunn. I said, "That's the man that owned the plantation the family lived on." And they said, "John Hunn, one of the most amazing abolitionists. He was the southernmost conductor of the Underground Railroad." I said, "What? John Hunt was an abolitionist?" And my mother woke up and said, "I told you he was a nice man." What? Mom, there's a big gap between nice and abolitionist. She said, "You didn't listen." At that time, I had done what I thought was due diligence. I had looked in all the records when she said that, looking for John Hunn. I really couldn't find him. I found his great-great-grandson who was governor. I found some other folks. I could not find John Hunn. Things weren't digitized as they are today, and you had to go searching in libraries. And I'd actually gone to Delaware looking for him and couldn't find him. When she said that, and when they said this on this program, I went looking. And ironically, I found John Hunn through the life of a black man, William Still. Usually in history, and especially during that period of time, if you want to find out about the lives of black people, you have to look through the lives of the white people and look at the property that they've listed. In this case, it was William Still who kept John Hunn alive. He was there listed in the record that John Hunn wrote in a book called The Underground Railroad. Now, back then, when I wrote about this, the book hadn't been reissued. It was reissued after I wrote about it, and my editor, who also worked at Random House, saw to it that the book was reissued. Since then, it's been done again by others, and it's not completely intact, but back then I found a first edition copy of it. And I found this little blurb about John Hunn, along with a picture of him. And I found that he had all of his records destroyed by his son on the day that he died. He was laying in his deathbed, and he told his son to destroy all of his records because he didn't want to have happen to others what happened to him. And what happened to him was he was sued under the Fugitive Slave Law Act by a very famous judge. And they told him that if you continue, we're going to take everything from you. But if you vow today to stop doing this, we'll let you keep your house and land. And John Hunn, who prior to becoming an abolitionist had been a wealthy textile merchant, and then he changed his life around and became dedicated to the fight to end slavery. And that day he told this famous judge, "I will continue and I will risk my life and limb to end this horrible institution. I'll give everything I have to see it end." I found out that my great-great-grandfather, John Henry Freeman, was also on that plantation, and he would assist John Hunn with those runaways. Everyone, including Harriet Tubman, he'd bring from down south and up to the Philadelphia Commission, providing shoes and clothes and food. So there's my great-great-grandfather, John Henry Freeman. He became Freeman later. When everything was taken from John Hunn, they sold the plantation away and tried to sell my great great grandfather. He found a lawyer, a Quaker lawyer, who helped him sue, and he won his freedom back, saying that he was unlawfully took. After that, he took the name Freeman, and that's how we became Freemans. He said he wanted everybody to know that he was already a free man. I knew none of this history. It had been buried under layers of sadness and abuse and poverty and pain. And this rich history that was mine was hidden. It was hidden in the story of a man who had given everything he could to end this institution of slavery, but he destroyed his journals to keep his friends safe. I was so ashamed of myself and my mistake that I didn't write for a very long time, and I still have a hard time writing fiction because of it. We have doubled down on that time that we were wrong, on our shame and our guilt, and we can't move forward towards the freedom of all because of our shame and our guilt. I do this. I have dedicated my life and my time and my resources to understanding everything I can about those who fought for freedom, so I can find the breadcrumbs that they've left to share with all of us so that we can be free. This is the work that I've been charged to do, to lift up the stories of my ancestors and your ancestors to the point of freedom. When a person dies, a library closes, and it is my job to keep it open. The beautiful people at Delaware State have read my book. Delaware State University has decided to take that land and turn it into a memorial, to turn that place into a place where people can come and see what abolitionists have done. My horrible mistake became a way to lift him up, to lift up his name and to point to the road to freedom. Do not stand behind your shame that time that you got something wrong. Keep learning, keep writing, keep connecting. It is in these points that we will all be free. I believe it. I know it. Because if during that time they fought for it when they were being put to death, we can fight for it when all we do is lose a few friends. I love you. I love you. I love you.